I am so honored to be in this space with you all today. Some of you I do know and I have seen before. Some of you I will be meeting for the first time. But in either case, I am grateful and I am truly humbled to be sharing some time with you all this afternoon. My name is Jha D Amazi, and I am a director of the Public Memory and Memorials Lab at Mass Design Group. For those of you that are not familiar with Mass Design, we worked in partnership with the artist Hank Willis Thomas and our visionaries Pam Bosley and Annette Nance Holt from Purpose Over Pain on this particular project, the Gun Violence Memorial Project. And so I am here today to welcome you all into the space for this event. Being here at the National Building Museum has certainly been an honor and a privilege for this project. We first started exhibiting this work at the Chicago Architecture Biennial, and then we moved from Chicago here to the National Building Museum in Washington, D.C. And from the perspective of the Public Memory and Memorials Lab, this work that I do at Mass Design Group, this particular project was really the beginning, the impetus of the lab. It is in this work that we had an opportunity to think about what it meant to change the narrative around a particular topic, in this case, the epidemic of gun violence. What could we as architects, as artists, as designers do in a memorial work to really begin to change the perspective around this, how this country sees the gun violence epidemic? And so in working in inspiration from Pam and Annette, we started to think about a participatory memorial, one in which we would ask family members like yourselves to contribute an object that represented the passions, the interests, the personalities of their loved ones. And in doing so, we would co-create a memorial together. We would build a memorial to our loved ones together. There are over 900 people that are represented currently in this memorial. There are 4 houses. Each house is composed of 700 bricks. 700 was the statistic in 2019 of the number of Americans that were killed on a weekly basis due to gun violence in this country. And so to be at a position where the houses are almost full is overwhelming. On one hand, it is beautiful to see that so many folks want to tell their loved one's story, want to contribute, want to honor their loved one in this way. On the other hand, it's frustrating, it's devastating, it's enraging that there are this many people who we are having to mourn due to gun violence. And yet, this is but a small representation. One of the aspects of this project, as I mentioned before, was to represent individuals. Too often are our loved ones reduced to statistics. that we hear in the media about gun violence. We hear numbers and numbers and numbers, but we don't get to see stories. We don't get to hear names. We don't get to understand who these individuals were and who they still are by way of those that are of us that are here in this room.
I'm so excited because my mom went to the next race, come to the next race. Little did I know 10 days later after that race, we'd gone from our lives.
I came in this morning and I was asked, as you always ask somebody, how are you doing today? And I immediately started crying. Excuse me. Because to be in a room with such brave people, to be in a room with folks who love their families and themselves so much to want to participate in an opportunity to honor their loved ones in perpetuity is overwhelming, is remarkable, is truly astounding. And to be challenged with understanding or exploring how we continue to do this work, how we continue to, as I said before, change the narrative, how we continue to challenge what we as a country, as a society, think about gun violence, and how we really move people to action to understand that this is an epidemic that needs to end. Amen. That needs to stop now. Amen. We cannot afford to lose any more of our loved ones. Nobody else can be taken due to this epidemic. To be charged with an opportunity to join in that conversation, in that fight by way of, again, art and architecture is truly, truly an honor and a privilege on my part. So I thank you all for welcoming us into your families. I thank you all for trusting us with your stories. I thank you all for joining us today as we begin to close the chapter here at the National Building Museum, and we think collectively about where we are going in the future. So thank you all, and thank you for the moment of being emotional.